Cześć, zapraszam Cię dzisiaj do rozmowy z Arturo Penią, w której rozmawiamy o tym, jak zbudować globalny zespół, przygotować strategię marketingową, ale również o tym, jakie są główne trendy w tym obszarze. Choć podcast nagrany jest wyjątkowo w języku angielskim, to obiecuję, że warto zostać i posłuchać Arturo. Miłego słuchania.
Nowoczesny Lider. Podcast dla poszukujących inspiracji liderek i liderów.
Hello to the Nowoczesny Lider podcast, and today our guest is Arturo Pena. Hello, Arturo.
Hello, how you doing, Sebastian?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Good. Happy to be here with you.
And it's a unique opportunity because Arturo is in Poland, and he's like the great expert in the marketing field.
Oh, thank you for that.
Oh, absolutely. I was really impressed. I was listening to your presentation yesterday. I was really impressed by your approach, ideas. Results was amazing. So many thanks for spending some time with us and my listeners. You are Chief Marketing Officer at Softserve.
I am.
I
Yes.
think, how long you are in the role?
Exactly 1 year. My anniversary was a week ago.
Amazing. So congrats.
Thank you very much.
So probably have joined the company in the same time, roughly.
Yeah.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
quite
I remember.
interesting. Yes. And I know they have a lot of experiences. We talked before the podcast, and you work for different industries. You work for Amadeus, you work for Cognizant, as far as I remember.
Cognizant,
Yes.
General Electric, Dell EMC.
Yes. Always in the marketing roles?
Yes, always. Well, actually, when I lived in Latin America, I was in sales. I was selling IBM software and services through Latin American countries based in Mexico.
This is quite amazing, I can tell you. I'm getting more and more impressed. But I would like to ask you today for your perspective on the marketing challenges, opportunities in the future. And one, I think, of the opportunities or challenges, or both, is globalization and how globalization impacts your activities, plans, thinking, how you really make these things happen.
Yeah, well, two things that I see on the global sphere is one of the big benefits is it goes back to the principles of competitive advantage, right? And globalization has opened the doors for marketing to find better talent in other places. And, not only is the cost effectiveness, but more importantly is that the different countries and different cultures actually bring different positive aspects to the practice of marketing. So in fact, at Softserve, we have a true global distributed organization. I have people in Mexico, Chile, Colombia. As you know, I have people here in Poland. I have people in Bulgaria, Ukraine, United States, Canada. I don't think you can get more diverse than that. And again, one of the things that I see is amazing things that you don't know until you have people reporting in the organization from these countries, amazing things that they bring to the table, again, because of the way they were brought up. Their culture, their language, their way of living, they bring different skill set that you can, you just cannot match it by trying to copy it in another country, right? So that's one of the great things. If you think about it, it also gives you follow the sun type of availability to work and deliver to our audiences what we need to deliver globally, right? A big portion of our business is in Europe. If you don't have people in Europe, you will always have to rely on automation to make time zones work. So, that's one of the positive components, people, in my opinion, which is in this company, marketing is not the exception, right? In this company, people is our number one asset, is what makes this company so successful. So, and then on the other side of the coin is the challenges. One of the challenges with globalization is more restrictive privacy regulations and rules of engaging, right? And they're not consistent. So you have to be very aware of the different regulations in each one of the countries, because you have to be compliant when you gather data about your audiences, how you use the data, how you get rid of the data. And not only from the regulation standpoint, but again, different cultures will have different acceptance of outreach. Just think about the typical marketing function in an American company where everyone is sitting, I don't know, in New York, and they have a target audience in Poland, but they know nothing about the Polish culture except the time zone, right? How to address them, the tone of voice, the style, the number of touch points, the way they want to be engaged, et cetera, et cetera. There's no way you can know all of those things if you don't have literally people in those countries, right? So, again, privacy, one thing, challenging. The other thing that is challenging is truly understanding the local audiences, right? This is not translation, this is localization. How do you make your marketing outreach local?
Mm-hmm. I think I just wanted to ask about the culture aspects of the communication, because communication or anything when you plan products is very much depends on the local aspects.
Correct. You build some, let's say, platform or common denominators that could be applicable and scalable globally, for sure. And that will allow you to scale to have a cost-optimized operation, for sure.
When it comes to your role, because this is like very unique, honestly speaking, you're very much focused also on the revenue grow,
Correct.
on the business grow, which I'm not always sure is the core of the marketing people I know.
Yeah.
So how you build how you find the best way to really contribute on this field to the company's success?
Yeah. So I do believe that there's two types of CMOs, and I think the nature of the CMO's career will push them in one direction or the other one. B2B technology has been mostly inclined towards demand generation or revenue generating efforts, right? So again, I think the natural thing for an IT services B2B CMO is towards demand generation. Now, brand cannot be separated from the job, but I do believe that the expectation of the C-suite in B2B organizations is contribution to pipeline. I mean, that, and I agree with it. So I think with the CEO and the board of directors, when I was hired, there was always that expectation that they wanted someone with experience in sales. And I do have experience in sales. With a salesperson, it's, at heart, I'm a salesperson, right? And the way we do that is, and I'm going to put the brand on the side for a second, but it's always thinking about the buyer's journey and the sales cycle and the retention cycle. So those three things need to be seen as one holistic journey from, we call it cradle to grave, rather than separating the parts, right? So marketing needs to be involved from taking audiences, because at the beginning they're just audiences, from being unaware of who you are, moving into knowing who you are, getting interested in having a business conversation with you, and converting into a business partner or a buyer. And then marketing even needs to stick around after they become a client, so then it moves into retention and advocacy. Advocacy it's one of the things that a lot of companies forget to do, and this is my definition of advocacy is selling through your clients, right? When you have a good portfolio of clients and they believe in you and you have a good relationship, you should be thinking how they can help you sell more, right? So, and that to me is integrating the three components again. When they are just an audience, just prospects, then the buying cycle or the sales process, and then the retention process. And in order to do that, I need to work closely with sales, with the business units, the associates, the vice presidents of sales, the AEs, and all these different roles that have direct interaction with prospects and clients. So the very first step is connecting with them, right? Modeling an organization, designing an organization that is built to support the business, that is built to be pegged to the hip with them. My people in field marketing, I always say that 75% of their body, soul, and mind doesn't sit in marketing. It sits in the business unit, because that forces them to understand those specific businesses, right? You cannot just go at the market and say, the world is my market. You need to do segmentation, and the business units already do segmentation by industry, by regions of industry, characteristics of their business model, of our prospects, et cetera, et cetera. So again, this field marketing function, or by design, is geared towards understanding such segments, what they care about, what are their pain points, challenges, how we can help them solve for those business problems, what is the competition present in that specific crossing of segment and capability or offering, And how do we position ourselves by having all that intelligence? This is what they need. These are the competitors present. This is how they position themselves. What should we do, right? So very important to be with them rather than saying, well, marketing knows which segments and what to tell them. No, we don't. All the substance of it needs to come from the business. What we bring to the table is a best practice, right? If we go to a business unit and they don't know how to do segmentation, well, we help them do segmentation, right? When they don't know what it is to do competitive analysis, well, we go help and do competitive analysis, right? So that's one, that's one of the portions, basic, fundamental components as a CMO to make sure that marketing delivers pipeline contribution. That's step number one. Then step number two is creating a strategy that is multi-channel, that can touch the audience through the buyer's journey in online and offline ways. Just as a principle, very basic definition. What are the channels that we should be using based on my understanding of the audience and what they need and where they're going? What channels can I use? How should I use them and when? How do I connect those channels so my interactions with the audience are a seamless sequence of events rather than isolated outreach that don't connect with each other, right? And when you start thinking about channels through the lens of buyer's journey, your behaviors of purchasing channels or investing in channels changes dramatically, because now you look at the channel as a contributor of a bigger goal, which is driving an audience from point A to point B to point C. Also, when you see the channels in an integrated way, you start balancing your spend and putting more money where you're supposed to be putting more money because of the different role that these different channels play, right? So it's very critical. Look at the buyer's journey, how that connects to sales, and based on that understanding your audience, where they're going, make your design of touch points. Literally like going to Disney World and drawing a map. When the people get to the gate, what will that experience look like? Are they going to be greeted by a person, by a machine? What is that experience after the greeting? What, are we going to pass them through a store, directly to the right, et cetera, et cetera? So it's thinking about that journey. This is why channel decision needs to be based on buyer's journey. I think to me, those are the two major components. And then building the partnership and trust with the business unit organization, again, existing clients and prospects. The only way marketing can do that is by demonstrating that we're able to help, right? And that we know our trade, that we know the domain expertise of marketing, the role of channels, and how do we use channels to move the needle. So the last portion I would say is demonstrating that through measurements, right? There are not vanity metrics that show, impressions and clicks. Impressions or clicks are a component of some of the channels, but what is the meaning of a click? And can we rename that to digital engagement? And instead of showing the aggregate of clicks, what is that sequencing of campaign A of certain clicks that took the audience to the next step and then to the next step? Again, showing the metrics also through the lens of a buyer's journey, right? Hey, Mr. Vice President of Sales, I'm not going to show you all the clicks of the year because what does that mean to you? But how about I show you the percentage of your audience, the accounts we're targeting, moving from never engaging with our brand to engaging with us, and certain percentage of them actually converting into, coming to an event or setting up a meeting, right? So again, channels, metrics, everything through the lens of moving an audience through the buyer's journey. Those are the three components.
Zapraszam Cię do społeczności Nowoczesny Lider na Facebook lub LinkedIn.
I think also this is also my observation when it comes to people, not marketing, but generally speaking, there's so much focus on activities, not always on the results.
Correct.
Yeah, so I think this is like the mindset I'm always also trying to build. I think your strategy works very, very well.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Arturo, so maybe moving to the next part, because I was interested in the trends, and the beginning of the year is always the good time to ask, okay, what do you see as expert in this domain for many years as a trends for 2023 when it comes to the marketing, regardless of the business units but of the sector, but there's any highlights?
It's definitely technology. One of the reasons I moved to the dark side of marketing when I was in sales, because in sales, I'm an outgoing guy and I love selling, but marketing is always changing. It's always innovating. And it's so close to the world of technology, which is the industry that I've been working at for quite some time now. The technology in marketing is the disruptor and will continue to be the disruptor for generations to come. And I hate to say it, but also that same big opportunity and transformational path of marketing through the lens of technology is also the distraction. The proliferation of different marketing technologies and advertising technologies, all things marketing technologies, is just insane. It's hard to rationalize. It's hard. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. That's exactly what the marketing tech stack looks like. So organizations that don't have a marketing technology stack or MarTech function and pure responsibility of it are lost. There's no way they can ever outpace their competition or become efficient and effective in, again, generating awareness, interest, and demand if they don't have that mindset, if they don't have a marketing technology and digital perspective, whether you're in B2C or B2B. And I hate to say this, but B2C is ahead of B2B. They have been for quite some time, especially, all things upper funnel. Technology. And then if I double click on technology, the appearance of true artificial intelligence tools is just exciting, right? There's always a component of efficiencies, which is, can I do the things that we do with less human hours, right? That I think a lot of the AI use cases that we see, like, OpenAI and all these things, have become a little bit of less hours or less time to do a task and less human intervention. That's true, but I don't think that's where the opportunity is. In marketing, we have the amazing window that AI could be used to be more relevant and more precise in interacting with your audience. To me, those are the use cases, not savings, not less human hours. Because humans or our audiences interact with brands online and offline without you having the ability to track all of them and know precisely what they want and what they need at that specific point in time. There's no way with your amazing human brain, even the aggregate of all the human brains in marketing, that can solve for it. Now, AI is the path to do that, because AI can interact with the rest of the machines, with the advertising technologies, with the advertiser vendors, with the marketing automation vendors, aggregate all that data and help humans make a better decision in when to interact, with whom to interact, and with what to interact. That is, to me, what AI will bring to the table, right? How many times have you been on your phone and you see irrelevant advertising? How many times? Very often. And before this new wave, I would say for the last 2 years, 2-3 years ago, that was very prevalent. I mean, it was very the opposite of precise, right? It was very faulty. People will get advertising on things that you don't care. Then you would get, emails that are supposed to be personalized to you, and they're zero personalized, right? They just throw in your name in it, misspell your name, but you know that the rest of the email is just freaking generic, right? So they seem to be tiny things. But one of the my philosophies is that marketing will always be marketing if you focus on the basics of communication. So if you have a marketing function that are really good at communicating, aka understanding the needs and having relevant messaging that really appeals to the audience and fantastic production of channels to deliver that message, that, in my opinion, that will continue to be the basics. Now, if you add technology on top of it to enhance the delivery of what I just described, the right message on fantastic channels, then you're golden, right? Your audience will react and to your outreach significantly better, right? Your brand reputation will go up. Whether they engage with you or not, they will have that feeling of, these guys are good, right? You've also received emails like that, or you've also seen advertising like that where you get surprised, like, oh, this is awesome, right? Or when you watch a Super Bowl ad and it's like, yeah, bad ad, but this one is, oh my God, right? It just got to me. I am the audience. And as a marketer, you're also a marketer, right? You have that feeling of, these guys got it, right? You want these guys got it responses more often. This is what AI is going to bring to the table, fixing and solving for these noise that the same marketing technology brought us, right? The cookies are gone. We're back to first-party data. Companies need to focus a lot on creating their first-party data with permission marketing. In the US, we don't have GDPR, but it's a great example of why wait for GDPR. Just do it for the sake of respecting your audience. Permission marketing is a concept that came to our organizations a long time ago. You have to keep pushing on permission marketing and create your first-party data, and continue to refresh that data and update it by having meaningful interactions with your audiences, right? I'm just describing what awareness means for a B2B company, right? If you're Coca-Cola, if you're Adidas, any big brand, having advertising impressions on a 5-year-old, absolutely, that 5-year-old will be your buyer at one point, right? All you have to do is focus on your top brand, focus on that fantastic storytelling, that visionary and feel good, all of the good stuff. Now, we're a B2B IT services company. I have a 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. They could care less about an ad that they could see on Softserve or the way we digitize companies, right? So everything that I'm just describing has a purpose to drive an audience from awareness to engagement to conversion, right? That's why I like B2B marketing. B2C marketing, you better be good at understanding human feelings. Mm-hmm. And that to me is harder than understanding the reason why companies exist and the reason why companies need to digitize, which is, our customers. Long answer, but
I love it. But I think I'm surprised a bit as well. You have not mentioned the metaverse at all.
Yeah. Well, and I forgot that was in your bullet points. I can definitely talk about the metaverse. So AI, okay, the reason I address AI because all your digital touch points, digital advertising, social media, web, AI will be the number one driver. Now, let's talk about metaverse. In fact, in Q4 of 2022, we had 2 amazing events in Europe, and one of them, Web Summit, which is kind of the pinnacle of technology trends in at least in Europe, and I think also in North America, like CES, right? CES. Anyway, so we decided to invest 6 to 9 months in developing immersive experiences, mm-hmm. right? What is an immersive experience? I'll tell you the precursor to that. Before that, it was demos, mm-hmm. right? Clickable demos. And before that was PowerPoints. And before that, printed pamphlets. Now, if you go to a conference and you see a company with printed pamphlets, run away as fast as you can, okay? They are from the 60s or the 70s, right? So that's the way I evaluate brands when I go to an event. You have pamphlets, do you have a PowerPoint presentation, do you have a clickable demo, or do you have an immersive experience? I would say when I was walking the floor at Web Summit, no more than 5% of companies have immersive experiences. We were one of them. And we had people lining up, just word of mouth. We did not invest in paid media to promote our booth. We did a little bit, but not too much. But I could tell it was word of mouth because on day one, of course, the immersive experience we had to, and I'll describe it in a second. We had always, it was always busy, right? People will come and go, but not a single second that our demo people were not busy, right? Second day, we saw a line. Third day, that line tripled. So that is telling you that it's word of mouth, right? People saying, have you been to that, immersive experience or experience in general? And probably they call it demo, right? So immersive experiences, right? So one of them was metaverse. We spent 6 to 9 months. I don't remember exactly, but let's say 9 months at the maximum. I think it was like 6 months because we said that in Q2. Yeah, it was more like 6 months. And we decided, how can we show to people that are going to be there, because it was a brand event. They could be prospects or not, or clients or not. We didn't care, but it was just a brand awareness effort. How do we tell them who we are without actually telling them, without actually talking to them? How do we make them experience who we are and understand who we are through interaction rather than words, right? Like when you go to an Apple store, assuming that you've been living under a rock and you don't know who Apple is, and you go to, a retailer, I'm not going to say the bad brand, but a retailer, and then you go to Apple store, you're just like, wow, right? Nobody needs to explain to you the brand because you feel the brand, right? So we took the same approach. In this demo, we decided to aggregate different advanced technologies. Cloud computing, I think we used Amazon Web Services. There you go. They're going to get some brand lifting from your podcast. Amazon Web Services for cloud. We had artificial intelligence algorithms to make analysis of the data we were gathering. We had haptic technology, which is this technology that you feel like someone is touching you, but really nobody's touching you. And finally, we had, of course, facial recognition and metaverse. So the whole immersive experience was about a fortune teller, where you would come to like a mini booth. You would put your hand floating into a haptic device. It would read your hand. The camera on top will look at you, do some facial recognition. You will have a cloud-based avatar in front of you with human movements, because we actually recorded those movements through sensors with a person. So that meta human interacting with you, and as you talk to the meta human, your face would be recognized, your hand will be read for the experience, and at the end of the experience, you would get an NFT or an avatar for yourself based on your features. It would just create with the algorithm. It will just create a good match for your avatar in the meta world. So you would go to the next station, receive a printed version, a printed version of your avatar with a new name, with a job in the metaverse, like, security marshal in the metaverse, right? Something like that. And you would get that, and you would have a QR code, and that QR code will take you to an NFT platform. We will give you your NFT. So for the first time, you would have a non-fungible token through that experience with a new name that nobody can copy. You can save it, give it, sell it if your avatar was so cool. But the metaverse component was the appealing of it all, right? Which was taking your human being, and who could you be in another reality, in another place that only exists digitally, giving you a cool job and a cool name. And some people got pictures that were improving. Some people were not too happy with those, the meta person, the meta human that we were giving them in the metaverse, or that avatar. So it was an amazing experience. And it was great. I'm trying to connect here another component of B2B marketing, experiential, right? We talked about digital, and I think I'm taking the metaverse as also an experiential component. In my opinion, for marketing, metaverse is all about experiences, not so much to disconnect yourself from reality, but just have immersive experiences with brands, and just, I guess, evaluate that B2B brand and their technological and technical prowess by experiencing the brand in the metaverse. That to me is the number one use case, like the Minority Report from, remember that movie with Tom Cruise? And, he goes into the store and has data about him and knows the preferences of that person, but it has some metaverse component in it because you're in a physical world with some virtual world components in it. So yeah, I think to me, and a lot of the people that we talked to in that experience, they were retailers or banks or healthcare, but I think retailers and banks were very interested in that concept because the reality is that we're far away from moving from the physical world and transacting with businesses. So one thing is to experience a brand in the metaverse. Another thing is to move their transactional models to the metaverse. That's a big difference. And I do believe that at least in the next few years, 5, maybe 10 years, it will be all about the experience itself. But if you're going to buy a car, let's say a luxury car, you will always want to go touch the car, right? There's just so much that humans will want to do in the metaverse, and I believe it's just that first touch experience. I think metaverse will completely start replacing metaverse and Web3. They'll start replacing your typical receiving an email and going to a web page and trying to see what the brand and the products are about. I think that's the portion that will start improving and then probably replacing. Now, the transaction itself, I see that as a longer term, which is staying there and transact with a business in the metaverse, right? And now we can start talking about blockchain and things like that will be required for a fully virtual relationship between consumers and brands, right? So again, experiences. And I think in the metaverse, the experience needs to be aligned to what the audience is expecting. And I do believe that metaverse, let's take one angle, design, right? Creative design and visual design is still a long way to be high quality and top notch. Still far away. So some of the metaverse experiences are very cubic, right? Very Picasso-like, and it's like, it's like playing Minecraft, right? Like yeah, right. So when I play with my kids Nintendo and I play, I don't know, Mario Kart versus Minecraft, did we just go back 20 years? Why is this so cubic? So straight lines and whatnot. So anyway, that's my point. I think the metaverse for marketing is 2 components: the fact that you can have a 4-dimensional or multi-dimensional sets of interactions, visual and auditive interactions with a brand. That's one component. The other one is the way it looks and the way it feels. And that's the portion that needs to mature, right? Just throwing them into just, hey, you can have visual and auditive and even sensory interactions. Thumbs up, check. The visuals look very like 20, 30 years ago. No, thank you. So that will change. And designers are moving into learning how to design in the metaverse. It's a completely ballgame. I'm not an expert in visual design, but you can assess that by going into some metaverse experiences with some of the brands, right? So that's why you're going to have to match those two for it to become more and more relevant for the brands. Right now, it's a lot tipping the toes in the water and getting what's good from it rather than absorbing it all, right? That would be my advice. And that's probably what we're going to pursue. What are some of the things that look more mature that we can enhance our experience rather than forget about what we do in experiences with our audiences? Now let's go all the way in here. I wouldn't do that because there's still, again, more maturity to be achieved.
I have to confess something. I think the first time alive I see a person from marketing having so much passion, knowledge about the technology and how you can really use it. So kudos to you.
Oh, thanks.
Arturo, really kudos. Can I ask you last question?
Yes, of course.
It's very not marketing related, but it's about you as a leader. So how you build your team? What are your selection criteria process
for
the team you're working with?
So I would like to answer that question with it all depends. And it all depends the company that I'm serving, right? I work for Softserve, and because I work for Softserve, and because I work for Chris Baker, my boss, the CEO, and because of the board, and because of my C-suite peers and the presidents, because I know the company culture and the leadership, I take a very specific approach. If I was in a blue chip American company with different culture, out of the 90s leadership books where it's just racing to the top as quickly as possible, doesn't matter who you leave behind, that would be a different answer. So, having said that, we in this company have the culture of people development. It's not only the culture, but it's also the vision, right? Our associates love working in this company. We have an employee net promoter score of above 80, and I honestly don't know any brand that can say that. Maybe, the Apples of the world, the Facebooks of the world, but ultimately, I think people want to work here and want to stay here because we just don't send an email saying we care about their development. Everything we do every day is for developing people. So having said that, I look inside, and I looked inside. So just so you know, this year we grew the marketing fund. We almost tripled the marketing organization. I'd say like 2.5 times the size that it was, right? It was a little bit in disarray, very incomplete. But anyway, so number one is looking inside, the people inside the company and what is their potential, their aspirations, and always thinking a hybrid model. Let's put some of the internal people in leadership places, bring some fresh eyes from the outside with certain capabilities that we currently don't have. That was one big component and emphasis that I made when I started thinking about the organization. So when I looked at people both inside and outside, what's called culture driven is, to me, the ability to connect with others, to listen to each other, to have a global mindset, meaning you're able to understand the other party's culture, and because of that understanding, you improve the way you interact with that other party, and now multiply that by all the countries that I just mentioned, right? Maybe you can group them in regions. They have similarities in cultures. That was a very important requirement for me. Then after that, energy levels and thirst for learning and changing and improving every day, right? And through looking at profiles, very thorough interviews with many people, not just me if I'm the hiring manager, but trying to identify if the person we're interviewing has the ambition, the energy, and what it takes to learn every day, to improve and transform his or herself every day. Those were the two major components. Oh, and by the way, if they have marketing experience, fantastic. I kid you not. Yes, I mean there was a baseline.
Okay.
All right, yeah. I mean,
of course, I know.
And a lot of the interviews is, listen, I am going to trust that everything you have in the resume is true. I'm joking, but if I'm the hiring manager, I'm of course probing to the marketing experience. But because marketing changes so much, culture, personality, attitude align to the company, our managerial style, the cultures and the value are significantly more important than the level of expertise in marketing. So of course I would say, listen, level of expertise, I'm going to qualify from 0 to 5. But if you have a 3 and on marketing advanced expertise for the things that you're supposed to be doing, and you have a 5 in culture, I will take that person every day versus a 5 in marketing and a 3 in culture.
Yes.
Every day. And again, in this company.
Yes,
right?
I understand.
And that was one of the big components. And then true collaboration. I believe that all the companies in the world, all the companies will say, well, and you see that in the job description, you have to be able to collaborate and influence without authority And camaraderie, sure, everyone can put that in paper, but one very important differentiation in this company is that we take it very seriously from the very top, and we assess and we observe behaviors all the time. When I go to the executive committee, operating committee meetings and the board, our boss, the CEO, is observing our behaviors, how we interact with each other, because he knows that if I'm being rude or sabotaging one of my peers, which is very common in the corporate world, he will be observing for that and immediately address it. So it starts from the top, and it's the same for me as a CMO. I'm constantly observing. To give you an idea, we've documented our team values in marketing. We printed them. We create a beautiful piece of art with it. It was input from my team. We just spent a session talking about who we want to be as a family. And we actually stopped talking about the team as a team. We said, this is a family. And the title of the slide says, "We in this family, we ... and then a bunch of team values." So some leaders will get to that point and say, this feels good, let's keep working. No. This is not a feel-good exercise, team. Everyone in their year evaluations and continuous feedback and the way we observe each other, this is part of your performance. This is an expectation for you to be in this company and for you to be evaluated as high performer. That changes everything, because now you have it's not a stick, now it's a carrot. Because if you move in this direction, everyone moves in that direction and everyone gets compensated, because guess what? I mean, happy people make a happy working place, working environment, and they will be significantly more productive. So, just nipping that from at the bud always is critical for any leaders. I have the experience of having peers and seeing other leaders from other companies and whatnot. And I do feel that some leaders, when they get to a leadership position like C-suite or C-1, they feel that it's not their job anymore to deal with conflict. It's not their job anymore to push for team values and principles and expected behaviors. Right? It's a lot of, you know what, I'm a CMO. You're supposed to do this, just do it, and I don't care how you do it. No, the role of the leader is precisely to be the glue in the family, to be the glue that allows them to thrive as individuals, to be happy and comfortable working with the rest of the organization. So it's not only setting the expectations, but also observing and taking immediate action when those things are. In that immediate action, a lot of it is coaching. If you hide, again, just think about the process that I just described, the characteristics that I'm looking for, evaluating that, the many interviews to check for culture, that starts to filter out the bad apples, right? But it's not complete, right? Then these people, there's wrong behaviors, you address it immediately, you coach them, and the response is so positive. Listen, I didn't notice it. I'm going to work on it. Versus, sure, I'll do it because you tell me you're my boss, and then I turn around and I continue to do that, or passive aggressiveness, et cetera, et cetera. So,
But I think you started from the beginning. Like, you were very thoughtful about building the team which is open to learn, open to move, develop. Yes. So
exactly.
Then, of course, the coaching, like you mentioned, whatever you do with the team, and you build the trust,
yes,
is really the gift for people which they receive from you. A very seasoned person, by the way, respected and with a lot of knowledge. So you have a full package as a leader.
Well, I'm getting there. I'm learning as we go. But yeah, you're absolutely right. From the beginning, that's
you designed the team, like you said,
correct.
Like,
Every single
very
hire,
thoughtful way.
Yeah, we hired 50 people this year, and of course they don't report to me directly, but I have a rule, which is if that person reports to me, of course I will be the main interviewer. But most of those 50 were not reporting to me, and my rule is, whenever you have a finalist and you really want to hire that person, I still want a conversation with that person. And that's where my joke on, it wasn't a joke, when I say, listen, I trust what you have in the resume. I actually said those things when they don't report to me, because they've gone through 4 or 5 interviews on digital or events or, content creation, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I poke a little bit on that, but I truly say, I just want to know you. I just want to know what takes your motivation, what takes your frustration, and understand how you will be interacting with people. And questions very, very straightforward. How do you react to frustration? How do you react to someone asking something from you? How do you react to conflict, right? How do you, where you want to go, how are you going to get there? And if you start seeing signals of, I'm going to get there no matter what gets in my way, careful, right? Some flags versus I'm going to get there by lifting others. I am going to get there by collaborating. I am going to get there by innovating, by being resourceful. Those are good signals because it's a person that is driven in the right way versus a person that is driven by just pushing others down.
Arturo, many thanks for your time. It was a really great conversation. I was really amazed by your thoughts, by your attitude, approach, things. I will even steal some ideas to my work on a daily basis. So many thanks for your time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thank you, Sebastian, for having me. It was a pleasure. I love talking about these things. So thank you for inviting me to your channel.
Yeah, epic. And good luck with all your plans for 2023. Maybe we can have the recap, maybe 2024, and we can do the rewind to this conversation and say what worked, what didn't work, and we'll see.
Absolutely. It's going to be the two things: operations, process definition, clear delineation, process improvement, and metrics, measurements. We have the troops in place, really talented people. Now I want to make sure that their job is easy by understanding who does what, when, and measuring our success so people get motivated and the business continues to trust in us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sebastian.